by the Gupta cases in South Africa. Now, yesterday, Treasury Cabinet Secretary says Kenya is experiencing actually something called market capture. And he raises very key questions. I want to bring in Dr. Tobias Oluweni. Dr. I mean, what happened to the sugar industry? What happened to the coffee industry? What happened? And those questions have been raised. Is the answer market capture?
Yes, Noah. The answer, market capture, yes, where the state must also come in, because all those are actually in the custody of state, sugar industry, coffee, and also the cotton. Then that means something that was not done as well captured by the CS for finance or treasury needs to be done. There was something that was not done properly in the market.
All right. So this brings in the question, because when you talk about these key sectors, we've seen the back and forth in regards to nationalization vis-a-vis privatization. And I remember even when the president visited the Bosch, that is the Nairobi Securities Exchange, one of his pitch was that I'll get companies here and Kenyans can invest, essentially going down the privatization route. Now, that particular bill was introduced, and now I think it was in the second reading the last time I was hearing that particular debate between parliamentarians. But the question is, reviving these sectors and unhinging these sectors from the issue of market capture, is privatization the way to go?
Most private organizations have been doing well. A case in point is the Cabra Sugar, which has actually been able to do well in the sugar industry. So it means somehow privatization can help. But you have to remember that these are also national kind of projects. You cannot leave them in the hand of the private parties. So probably leasing and also monitoring to ensure that there is effective reforms on them might be the better way or the way to go, because a private organization will privatize the operations that might finally be bad in the long run for the whole nation if we place all those sectors in the hands of the private organizations or private individuals.
Yeah, you know, I remember when the Cabinet Secretary, Treasury and National Planning, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, was being vetted, and one of the areas that he was very passionate about was the issue of markets. And he was saying that now, even when you just look, example, look 10, 15 years ago, the way markets were functional. We used to have, first of all, market days. Yeah, majority of these structures have been done away with. But markets and reviving the markets, it goes more than physical. It goes to the policy level. I mean, from your, where you sit, how do you sort of revive these markets in a manner that will help Kenyans, especially amidst this hard economic season?
In public finance, Noah, market failure is very critical, because if it fails, it means that the public goods will not be given to the public, and you see taxpayers are waiting to be given the public goods. So market capture that the CS was talking about, the question is what captured the market? Probably cartels, you know, let's name them by their name and also work on them. If it is cartel, then how do we tame the cartel? I think there was a good step by the president on taming the cartel, but I think we need now to have it felt, you know, so that we can actually stop the cartels that capture the market and have the markets functioning well. Of course, the responsibility of handling market failure belongs to the state. So I think it is time to put the machinery down and ensure that market failure or market capture will not be seen.
All right. And at that same Kenya Economic Report 2023 released by KIPRA, it was also tackling the issue of cost of living. And one of the areas, of course, we understand the major drivers of inflation has been food, and on the other hand has been fuel. Now, just looking at the way the government has approached this issue of cost of living, from your assessment, how has that been? How reasonable has it been, and the interventions made? Because I know now the weather is favoring us. That issue of cost of food with proper rainfall, we can have a softer landing in that regard. But question is, the intervention on the side, for example, fuel, what do you think about that?
Last week we talked about the issue of fuel, and fuel is a driver. It's with fuel rising and persistently rising, that means inflation goes up and the cost of products go up, because they will be transported, and that will actually require fuel. Where manufacturing is taking place requires diesel, so that will actually mean that the cost will continue to go up. And as we said, we need to look at what is the component pricing of the fuel, so that we can evaluate and see what aspects are actually removable. And as we said, it's possible to remove some of the taxes from that makes the fuel prices to go up, so that at least there can be relief for the common person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another issue is looking at this particular report, and it's the issue of incomes, because there was a curve that was presented there in regards to income vis-a-vis the cost of living, especially inflation. And that data, question is, from a finance perspective, if inflation is growing at a faster rate than wages, what are some of the interventions?
Honestly speaking, the income is reduced when you tax it more. So the more you continue to put more taxes, that means the income that is disposable is getting less and less, and probably that also affects the larger industry or business world in terms of employment. So we have unemployment taking place. So intervention is basically to try to ensure that we are able to just tax that is necessary, and again also spur the environment for doing business, ensure that you attract foreign capital, so that we don't have much of capital flight, because if it takes place, then it means that we are able to continue in that kind of a vicious circle where incomes go down, inflation is rising higher than the income, and that affects the people's disposable income, and at the end of the day, they have less to invest. They will actually also chase away some of the people that probably are under their care or not handle those care properly, because they will tell them, we have less, so you have to go.
Okay. And when you look at the heart of this particular issue, Dr. I'm thinking, because when we look at high cost of fuel, that has been accredited to, global crude prices, which again, we're seeing major producers cutting production to raise the price. But global tightening of monetary policy, that has been a huge issue. In fact, it brings out the discussion around the dollar strengthening against the shilling, which is a huge challenge. Now, if you listen to the Cabinet Secretary, part of his answers to parliamentarians that was on Wednesday, he addressed this issue of dollar shortage. And, from where you sit, was that adequate, saying that it is a trade, it's trade-based solution? If we can fix where we export more than we import, that will solve this issue of the dollar as part of the solution. How do you process that?
Essentially, the dollar is the key measure of the trade that we do, and the trade balance of payment is actually affecting the dollar, because if we have more tilted, like say our imports are less than our export, far away, so that we are actually having a deficit, then trade deficit, then it means that we will face the challenge of dollar. Dollar shortage will be there. And I think even right now as we speak, not only Kenya but other East African countries are actually seeing the shortage of dollar, possibly because of the negative trade balance of trade, or negative kind of trade when you compare their capital and their current accounts. Okay. There is that difference.
All right. And Dr. Harry, that's where we want to put a full stop to this discussion, yeah? But there's a very pertinent question here before I let you go. Has your fashion today been inspired by the East, the Chinese, or you look very, very Eastern? The look is very Eastern. What inspired the look today?
We are heading towards BRICS in our minds somehow, so we try to go BRICS way. No, I know you know what BRICS are.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tobias Olweni, Senior Lecturer of Finance at JQuet, saying that we have to prepare ourselves. We have to start building, the bricks in our minds. But thank you very much, sir, for your input. At this particular moment, Business Today takes a short break. When we come back, we talk matters to do with investment in the cybersecurity and also touch a little bit on agriculture. Stay tuned.